Kim was surprised. "You got the project?" she asked incredulously. How was that possible when neither of them had made it to the auction site? "We didn't go, but the Wyvern Group's owner went," Jasmine explained. "He got us back the project and gave me a call to ask me to return it to you." "I see." Kim remembered that Helen had once told her that the owner had taken a liking to her. Was he doing this to threaten her into accepting his feelings? She wouldn't let that happen. The only person in her heart was Stephen. "Jasmine, who's the owner? Why does he keep helping me?" Because you're his wife, Jasmine thought. But she couldn't expose Stephen's identity, so she found a random excuse. "Maybe he values your talent." That technically wasn't a lie. Kim had a talent for business, and Stephen knew that. Kim bought it. "All right, help me tell him that I'll make this project a success. I won't let him down." "Okay, I'll pass on the message." "Oh, right, I asked you this before, but we didn't get to talk about it in detail. You used to talk about the owner all the time, but ever since you came back from Mantis Island, you've rarely mentioned him. Why is that?" Kim asked Jasmine. "Because that's your husband," Jasmine thought. She made up another excuse. "The truth is, he's already married. He has a family. I'm not the kind of person who chases after a married man." Kim was sympathetic. "So it was like that. Don't be discouraged. There are many good people out there. You'll find someone better." Jasmine only nodded in response. Kim couldn't contain her excitement after leaving the Wyvern Group and went to find Stephen. He was lounging on the couch at home. Victoria and Leslie were out on a stroll. Of course, Stephen knew why Kim was in such a good mood, but he pretended not to know. "You rushed all the way home to look for me? What's the occasion?" Kim beamed as she took the seat next to him. "I have good news. I'm in charge of the 100 billion projects again." "Really?" Stephen smiled. "That's great. By the way, on my way home, I was checking the calendar, and the 15th of next month is supposed to be a lucky day," Kim said. "Why don't we hold our wedding then?" "Okay, that's a good idea." Stephen had been meticulously preparing for the wedding all this time. The arrangements were almost complete. It would be ready by the 15th of next month. Kim tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Actually, there's something else I wanted to discuss." She looked hesitant, and that made Stephen concerned. "What is it?" "Well, you see—" "What is it?" he repeated, more anxious now. Kim mustered up her courage. "What do you think about having a child? If I'm pregnant, no one can stop us from being together, not even the Cassidy family or the Haynes family." "You mean—" Stephen trailed off and touched the back of his neck sheepishly. "Well, I was planning to wait until our wedding night. It's a special day after all. But are you sure you want this? What I mean is, are you saying this because of your family's influence, or—" He met her gaze. There was a trace of uncharacteristic self-doubt in his eyes. "Do you want me?" Kim was touched. Stephen was always thoughtful and took her feelings into consideration. She loved this side of him. Society was ever-changing. Many couples lived together and went all the way before marriage. They were no different from husband and wife. Her and Stephen's marriage had been anything but conventional. They were two strangers who had been thrown together because of a will. It had taken them time to open up to one another, and that hadn't happened until this year. They were rarely intimate with each other, something that other couples would find strange. But Stephen had never rushed or pressured her. He let her go at her own pace. Kim placed her hand on his, intertwining their fingers. "Stephen, are you worried that you won't be able to make me happy? There's nothing to worry about. You're all I could ever ask for in a husband. I want this, not because of the Cassidy family, and not because of the Haynes family. I want you." Stephen broke into a smile, as if he'd been waiting for those words all his life. That night, Kim and Stephen became a real couple. "First, congratulations. Second, why are you glowing?" Jasmine's gaze bore into her. Kim averted her eyes. She'd come over in the morning to discuss the project with Jasmine and tell her that her wedding date had been set. Kim blushed when she remembered what had happened last night, but she quickly composed herself. I think you've been single for too long, so you're sensitive to everything. You should hurry up and find a boyfriend. There's plenty of time for that, Jasmine said with a knowing smile. I should tell the employees about your marriage with Steven. They'll be happy for you. She didn't wait for Kim to respond before grabbing her phone and calling her secretary, asking her to pass on the good news. Jasmine, I don't think this is appropriate. Steven was the director of the security department, but the upper management never really cared about him. Why would they care about his marriage? But when Kim left Jasmine's office, almost every employee she passed congratulated her. The senior managers were especially enthusiastic. Kim was bewildered, but she reasoned that this was because Jasmine was the vice president. The news had come from her secretary, so it was understandable for the employees to be happy about their boss's best friend's wedding. It didn't take long for the news of Kim and Steven's wedding to reach the Cassidy family.
This is ridiculous,
Helen exclaimed.
Their wedding has caused a storm in the city. Everyone knew about it except us. Does Kim not think of us as a family?
Grandma, I don't think Kim sees herself as one of us anymore, Rebecca said. Her wedding is coming up, but it took this long to find out about it. Helen glanced at Harry.
Did you know about this?
No, I'm not that close with her. And even if you didn't know, how would any of us know? Helen grumbled.
I'll call the Haynes family in Santa Ana and ask them about the situation.
This was also Gordon and Mavis's first time hearing about Kim and Steven's wedding.
My granddaughter is getting married?
Gordon said in disbelief.
As her grandfather, how could she not tell me?
Helen heaved a sigh after ending the call. She scrolled through her contacts and found Natalie's number. Your daughter is getting married on the 15th of next month. Did you know about this? Natalie was stunned by the news. She mouthed the words, Kim is getting married, to Kyle. He hurried over and turned on the speaker.
Who's Kim getting married to?
Who else would it be? Helen snapped. Of course it's Steven. Has your family lost their minds? Your daughter is about to get married, and you two, as her parents, knew nothing about it. You two will become a laughingstock if other people find out about this. Natalie and Kyle looked at each other. Their own daughter was getting married. The entire city knew about it, but the closest people to her didn't.
Mom, we'll be there tomorrow,
Natalie said. She and Kyle were outside the city, but this was more important. They booked a flight scheduled after midnight and rushed back to Los Angeles. Gordon and Mavis also rushed over from Santa Ana. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation and started denouncing Kim. Helen took it upon herself to scold Natalie and Kyle. How did you raise her? We could have let it go if it was just us who didn't know, but even her parents didn't know. Is Kim leaving the family? Natalie had nothing to say. Kyle sighed. Uncle Kyle, what's the point in sighing now? Harry said. You should contact your daughter and ask her what happened. Natalie took out her phone and dialed Kim's number. Kim, what's the meaning of this? I heard you're getting married. I am, Kim replied. I've already discussed this with Steven. The wedding will be on the 15th of next month. I was about to call and let you and Dad know. Natalie laughed in disbelief. My own daughter is getting married, but I have to hear about it from someone else. Am I really your mother? Were you even planning to invite your parents to the wedding?
Mom, listen to me. I'm an adult now. I can make my own decisions. You and Dad are my parents, but who I choose to marry is none of your business.
What nonsense are you saying? Do you only care about Steven and his mother? Do you still think of me as your mom? We've told you many times that we don't agree with you marrying Steven. Why are you so determined to marry him? Even your grandparents couldn't stop you. Are you planning to leave the Cassidy family and establish your own family?
That's not what I meant,
Kim said. I don't care what you meant. Hurry up and come back to Los Angeles and bring Steven with you. My parents are already here. Give them an explanation when you arrive. Natalie angrily hung up the phone. Kim wasn't deterred. She and Steven booked a flight to Los Angeles. The entire Haynes family and Cassidy family were gathered at the villa at the highest point in the city. Helen's expression darkened when she saw Kim and Stephen entering the house.
Kim, you unfilial daughter! You should confess your wrongdoings now.
What is there to confess? Kim asked, confused.
Do you need me to spell it out for you? You hid your relationship with Stephen from us. You have no respect for your elders.
I'm an adult now, Grandma, Kim retorted. I'm perfectly capable of making my own decisions.
Then tell me, what capabilities do you have? Don't think you can look down on everyone just because you're the CEO of Tanith Corporation. Without the support of the Cassidy family and the Haynes family, you're nothing.
If I was still me from the past, that might be true, Kim admitted. But now, I don't need any support. See for yourself. Kim came prepared. She placed a document detailing the 100 billion project on the table. Helen, Gordon, and Mavis hurried over to take a look. They reviewed the document and exchanged surprised glances. Helen sucked in a breath.
This is a project with a 100 billion capital. Your net worth has surpassed both of our families combined.
That's right, Kim said confidently. With my current value, I'm more than qualified to make my own decisions. Helen, Gordon, and Mavis didn't have the words to refute. No one could compare to her. Kim took advantage of everyone's stunned silence and revealed her trump card. Also, I'm pregnant. Everyone turned to stare at Kim. She'd casually dropped a bomb on them. Helen, Gordon, Mavis, Natalie, and Kyle were rendered speechless. I'm carrying our child, Kim continued. You can't stop us from getting married. Kyle let out another sigh. I don't know how you turned out like this.
Kim, you weren't like this before, Natalie muttered. Did Stephen teach you this tactic?
Mom, stop slandering us, Kim shot back. Stephen and I love each other. Even if I wasn't pregnant, no one can stop us from getting married. The Cassidy family and the Haynes family swallowed their words. Kim was pregnant. They couldn't stop her from holding the wedding. Their only option was to accept it. Helen was the first to speak after a long silence.
How are you planning to hold the wedding?
Stephen handed her a list.
I've already organized it.
Helen flipped through the pages.
Not bad. It's more extravagant than I expected. You're calling it the wedding of the century. Can you really pull this off?
Of course.
Fine. I have one request, Helen said. For a grand wedding like this, there will be many important guests attending. To avoid unnecessary complications, your mother cannot attend.
Gordon and Mavis expressed their agreement.
We've never met her before, but we heard that she was a sanitation worker for more than 20 years. The status of our families will drop if she appears at the venue.
The other guests will probably laugh at us, Rebecca added. The rest of the family agreed.
Kim, you heard it too, Helen said. Everyone's in agreement.
Victoria was Stephen's mother. How could she not attend? Kim was about to argue that this was her and Stephen's wedding when Kyle interrupted.
As Kim's father, I have more requests.
What are they? Kim gritted out.
First, Stephen is marrying into the Cassidy family, and that's not a simple matter. He has to change his surname. Instead of Stephen Adams, he will be Stephen Cassidy.
Kim cut in. Dad, you're going too far.
You think that's too much? I'm not done yet. Second, after marrying into our family, he's not allowed to object to the Cassidy family's decisions. As long as it's a request from one of us, he'll have to comply unconditionally. Third, the amount of money he spends will be decided by us. Fourth, he's not allowed to participate in our family meetings or work at Tanith Corporation.
Kyle continued to list more than 20 conditions. All of them were very detailed. The rest of the family supported him.
Stephen, if you want to marry Kim, then you'll have to comply with all of these conditions, Helen said. If not, we won't agree to your marriage.
Kyle had set these harsh conditions because he saw the document that Kim had put on the table. His daughter now had a net worth of $100 billion, and it was much more than the Cassidy and Haynes families combined. Marrying Stephen was a huge loss, but because Kim was pregnant, there was nothing they could do about it. These conditions would minimize the damages. Kim couldn't understand why they were targeting Stephen. How was this marrying into the family? This was blatant hazing. Kim had thought that her increase in net worth would be enough to become independent from her family, but they were all banding together and trying to make her give up on Stephen. His value and his assets weren't up to the family's standards, but his feelings for her were real, and he treated her sincerely. Stephen had risked his life to save her when she was in danger multiple times. These points alone made him worth marrying. "I don't agree," Kim protested. "Stay out of this," Kyle said. "We're not talking to you. Stephen, do you agree to these conditions?" Everyone looked at Stephen in anticipation. Kyle's conditions were beneficial to both of their families. If Stephen agreed, he would have no status within the family. Kim would be above him. If Stephen disagreed, it would give them a reason to reject their marriage. It didn't matter if Kim was pregnant. At most, her child would be continuing the Cassidy family's bloodline. "Are you hoping for me to agree?" Stephen said. "Sorry to disappoint you, but I won't be agreeing to any of your conditions. It's the same as last time. I might have agreed to marry into your family, but it's unreasonable to ask me to change my surname. My mother gave me my name. Besides her, no one else has the right to change any part of it." 3 years ago, Stephen had married into the Cassidy family to fulfill his teacher's last wish, but that didn't mean they could make unreasonable demands of him. "So you don't plan on marrying Kim?" Kyle asked. Stephen gave him a level look. "Did I say that? Let me make this clear. First, I won't be changing my last name. Second, I disagree with all of the conditions. Third, my mother will be attending the wedding. And fourth, the wedding will be held. I'll be marrying Kim." Helen, Gordon, and Mavis looked at each other in disbelief. Stephen's tone was firm, as if he was telling them to take it or leave it. There was no room for discussion. Natalie interjected when she saw their displeased expressions. "Stephen, that's enough. Why don't you evaluate yourself before talking like that to your elders? Kim has a net worth of $100 billion. She's worth more than 2 of our families combined. Who do you think you are to marry her?" Natalie had never taken a liking to Stephen. Now that Kim's worth had increased, the gap between them was much too big. He was nowhere near Kim's level, and he would never be. He didn't have any ambition or any intention of climbing higher. He was satisfied with being at the bottom. Stephen's gaze swept around the room. "That's what you think, but I do have the qualifications to marry Kim. You'll all understand in the future." Kim assumed he was referring to his identity as Terrence's illegitimate son and Angelo's grandson. The Cassidy and Haynes families would have to look up to the Adams and Sierra families if they were in the picture. Natalie snorted. "What future? We understand very clearly now. You said you're worthy of Kim, but what exactly do you have that makes you so confident? You won't be able to catch up to her, not even in 10 lifetimes." Stephen had put up with their criticisms for 3 years, so he wasn't all that bothered. "Whether you believe me or not, I am worthy of Kim. I'll be giving her a surprise at the wedding. At that time, all of you will understand." Stephen wasn't surprised when Natalie didn't believe him. "What is it? What are you going to tell us at the wedding? That your father is actually a billionaire?" "Even if my father was a billionaire, I still wouldn't acknowledge him." Speaking of Terrence, Stephen suddenly realized why Kim hadn't supported his decision to attend the Sierra family's annual meeting. "Kim, I know what you're thinking, but I don't need to rely on my family. They have nothing to do with where I am now. It'll be my surprise for you at the wedding." Kim felt like a weight had lifted. "I'm looking forward to it," she said with a smile. Stephen returned her smile before glancing at the crowd. "Listen carefully. On the day of the wedding, all of you will understand what I said here today. My identity is something you can't even begin to imagine." "Since you're so confident, we'll wait and see just what you've planned at the wedding," Helen said. Gordon and Mavis agreed.
If you fail to show us your worth, then you'll have to comply with the Cassidy family's conditions. If not, then forget about marrying Kim again.
Stephen nodded.
All right.
The family meeting ended on a bad note.
Stephen, do you really have a surprise planned for me? Kim asked after leaving the villa. A small part of her found it hard to believe. A surprise that was beyond their imagination? What could it be? Of course, Stephen replied. I've already made arrangements. I'll give you the wedding of the century and make you the center of attention. Kim was much busier after officially landing the project with a $100 billion capital. During the day, she was busy with work and finalizing the wedding preparations. At night, she spent her time being intimate with Stephen. Sometimes they would even stay at a hotel. Kim was actually not pregnant. She had only said that to get the Cassidy and Haynes families off her back. As it turned out, it hadn't worked as well as she'd hoped. At this time, the general manager of Tanith Corporation, Charlie, took the initiative to share Kim's work. She was very grateful. Today, like usual, Charlie went to Kim's office to discuss work. All right, it's decided then. I'll be relying on you for the time being. Your work is the company's work, which in turn is my responsibility, Charlie said with a smile. I won't let you down. After deciding to work on the project together, Charlie started entering and exiting Kim's office more frequently. At Imperial Holdings, Gerald, Cynthia, and the executives were having a meeting in the conference room. Gerald tapped a finger on the table. Have you heard? Kim's getting married. Not only did she take back her project, but now she's getting married, Cynthia said. We should congratulate her for obtaining double the happiness. You're planning to give her a congratulatory gift? I've been preparing for a long time. She'll remember it for the rest of her life. That got Gerald's attention. What is it? Cynthia whispered her plan. Not bad, Gerald praised. If you succeed, we'll be annexing the Wyvern Group in no time. Mr. Johan will see us in a new light. While a conspiracy was taking place around Kim, she went about her daily life as usual. One night, she and Stephen were lying in bed together at the hotel. Stephen, I might be pregnant. His eyes lit up. Really? Did you take a pregnancy test? Yeah, it showed 2 red lines. I'll be going to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. Okay, I'll go with you. It's fine. I think it's better if I go with Camilla. Stephen fell silent. After a moment, he said, All right, I'll wait for your message. This was his first time encountering this kind of situation, so he was quite nervous. If the 4 great generals saw this side of the commander-in-chief, they would definitely tease him. The next day, Camilla drove Kim to the hospital. As they walked through the lobby, Camilla sensed someone was following them. She looked around, only to see doctors, nurses, and patients. Miss Kim, I feel like someone's following us. Are you sure you're not overthinking it? This is a hospital, so there's a lot of people coming and going. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Camilla scanned their surroundings once more. There was nothing out of the ordinary, so she followed Kim to the elevator. Congratulations, Miss Kim, the doctor said after receiving the examination report. Kim was delighted. Is there anything I should take note of? During the first trimester, the fetus is usually not stable. It's in the process of taking form, so you should pay attention to your health. Get more rest, eat nutritional meals, and avoid stress as much as you can. Remember to come back for your periodic checkup. Kim thanked the doctor and left the room. She couldn't wait to go back and tell Stephen the good news. Do you want to call Mr. Adams first? Camilla asked. No, I want to tell him face to face. When they arrived at Tanith Corporation, Kim hurried upstairs to her office and closed the door behind her. Just as she was about to video call Stephen, her secretary ran into the room and held out her phone. Miss Kim, there's been an article written about you. The headline read, The CEO of Tanith Corporation, Kim Cassidy, is pregnant. The father is a mystery. Kim's stomach sank.
It couldn't have been more than half an hour since she left the hospital, and she'd only been there for around 15 minutes. How would the news spread so quickly? Camilla was convinced that someone had been following them. I think someone followed you to the hospital and reported this to the media. Kim thought so too. She was well known in the business industry, and she'd received a lot of exposure after taking on a recent project. The media loved to expose the private lives of people like her, and whoever had followed her had to have known that. The news and media outlets had one thing in common, and that was their love for hot topics. When one piece of news went viral, the rest of the media would track down where it had started and quickly make their move. In less than an hour, Kim's pregnancy was all over the headlines of the major news and media outlets. A successful businesswoman is pregnant before marriage. Who's the father of the child? The mystery surrounding the single and beautiful CEO of Tanith Corporation. All kinds of fancy headlines were accompanied by pictures of Kim at the gynecology department. Even her examination report had been released. In no time at all, Kim's pregnancy had become the most popular topic in the district. The media had even dug up Kim and Steven's divorce, leading to the creation of a website that released an in-depth report of Kim's pregnancy with a multifaceted analysis. It included a thorough argument about the identity of the child's father. The lengthy article was based on 3 major points. First, Kim and Steven were divorced. That had happened more than half a year ago. Second, Steven had married into the Cassidy family 3 years ago. He had a low status, and he didn't meet the qualifications to be Kim's husband. This was also the biggest reason for their divorce. Third, the paparazzi had taken a picture of Kim recently entering and exiting a 5-star hotel. She'd stayed for the entire night and left early in the morning. It was obvious that she was meeting up with a mysterious man. Based on the conjectures outlined above, the long article finally came to a conclusion. The examination report was done today. Kim had become pregnant more than half a year after her divorce from Steven. Therefore, the child's father was not Steven. The article went viral as soon as it was published. It received the readers' support. Many people criticized Kim's private life, and the major news outlet kept an eye out for any updates on the website. In less than 2 hours, news of Kim's pregnancy spread all over the internet and served as gossip. A crowd of reporters gathered at the entrance of Tanith Corporation, requesting an interview with Kim. Few people knew the truth, and they were led astray by the news outlets. Kim's reputation took a hit. Even public figures came forward to ridicule her. This hot topic quickly made its way to the internet's trending list. Everyone in the district aimed to crack the case of the mystery father. Multiple media outlets that specialized in reporting entertainment news announced to the public that they wouldn't stop until they had found the mysterious man who got Kim pregnant. Kim was astonished by the articles and negative comments. She was pregnant with Steven's child. How had it become an entirely new version in such a short time? She took a deep breath to calm down and analyzed the situation. Someone had been following her at the hospital. Now, the news outlets were targeting her. There had to be someone behind this. Jasmine hurried over when she saw the news. Kim, you're in big trouble. There are reporters and paparazzi everywhere. They blocked the entrance to the building. It's impossible for you to leave unnoticed. But Miss Kim can't hide in her office forever, Camilla said worriedly. There's a back door that not many people know about. Let's go out through there, Jasmine suggested. Kim should work from home for a few days and wait for this to blow over. Kim organized her documents to take home. The project will be delayed, but there's no other way. The 3 of them successfully left the company through the back door. But when they arrived at the villa that Kim had bought for Victoria, they found that the entrance was crawling with reporters. They held up their cameras like they were their lifeline and scanned the area for any sign of Kim. Let's go to my place instead, Jasmine said, but she had miscalculated once again. The reporters were like police dogs with sensitive noses, camping in every possible location where Kim might appear. Jasmine sighed in annoyance. They're everywhere. I have an idea, Camilla said. Miss Kim, the reporters know that you and Jasmine are public figures and close friends. They'll be lurking everywhere you two have been before. But there's one place they don't know about, and that's my apartment. Jasmine gave her an impressed look. That's brilliant. You've been keeping a low profile, so none of the reporters would have noticed you. The three of them headed to Camilla's apartment. Among the reporters camping out in front of the Tanith Corporation was a rather famous reporter named Haley. She was getting impatient when there was no sign of Kim after 2 hours. What was going on? Was Kim planning on hiding in the company for the rest of her life? Haley impatiently made a call to her colleague, who informed her that Kim had left the company through another exit. Her lips curled into a smirk. I knew she wasn't inside. Good job. Send me a picture of her, she said, walking to a corner. Haley looked around. No one was paying attention to her, so she took out her phone and dialed a number. Mr. Charlie, it's your turn. Kim left the company through the back door. Kim had just entered the apartment with Jasmine and Camilla when she received a call from Charlie. Hello, Miss Kim. Where are you? Did something happen? Kim asked. I'm not at the company right now. Charlie's anxious voice sounded from the other line. I have an urgent document that needs your signature. If you don't sign it right away, I'm afraid our project will be delayed. Kim hesitated before telling Charlie where she was. She reminded him to keep a low profile. After receiving the address from Kim, Charlie took off his suit and shoes and changed into casual clothes. He put on a hat, a face mask, and a pair of sunglasses. When Charlie left Tanith Corporation, he caught the attention of the reporters, who were growing restless. Did you see that person? The reporter in the lead asked. That's the general manager of Tanith Corporation, another reporter answered. He's been married for more than 10 years, and he's a father of 2. Is Kim hooking up with him? It doesn't matter if he is or isn't, the lead reporter said. The mystery father is here. Let's follow him to get pictures of their private meeting. Kim was puzzled when Charlie came into the apartment in a suspicious getup. Why are you dressed like that? I didn't want to, Charlie replied. You're as big as a celebrity now. All the reporters are looking for you. If I didn't dress like this, they would have come after me to get to you. He passed the documents to Kim. Please sign these quickly before the reporters find out I came here. Kim took his pen and flipped through the document. She signed her name on the last page. Charlie held a key position at Tanith Corporation, so Jasmine and Camilla didn't suspect him. He hurried out of the apartment, but he slowed down his pace after leaving the building. He acted like he was being careful to avoid getting caught, but he was making it more convenient for the reporters to take photos. While Charlie was inside Camilla's apartment, one of the reporters installed a small camera in the hallway. It captured Charlie's bare face just when he took off his sunglasses and removed his mask. The reporter sent the photo to Haley, confident that his team would receive a promotion or a bonus this year. Haley didn't waste a second. She contacted a major news outlet and sent them the photo. In less than half an hour, another article was published with the eye-catching headline, "The latest update on Kim Cassidy's pregnancy. The identity of the child's mysterious father has surfaced." The article started off with a picture of Charlie wearing a hat, a face mask, and sunglasses. It prolonged the suspense and prompted the readers to guess the father's identity. Another picture of Charlie appeared in the middle of the article. This time his face was bare. The mystery father's identity was revealed. Details of Charlie's married life from Haley were included. The readers left critical comments at the bottom of the article, accusing Kim of being a mistress, hooking up with a married man, and ruining other people's families. Although there were those who voiced their doubts, Haley followed up with another update and shut them down. The following article detailed Charlie's frequent visits to her office recently. Aside from that, a snapshot from the security cameras in the lobby showed that Kim had been staying at a 5-star hotel for the past few days. The camera also captures Charlie entering and exiting the hotel on the same days as Kim. They were never together, but the implication was clear. The article also included a snippet of an unidentified man following Kim at the hospital. He was dressed in the same suspicious getup. The facts were laid out simply and clearly, supporting the fact that Kim was pregnant with Charlie's child. The logic and analysis of the article made for a convincing read, and Kim became the target of everyone's criticism, including the spectators who had previously doubted the article's credibility. They no longer supported her. When Camilla saw the article, she immediately realized that she hadn't been imagining things at the hospital. Charlie had been following them, and he was a surprisingly good actor. He'd managed to fool her even though she used to serve in the special forces. Kim wanted to confront him, but his phone was off. "Try calling the company," Jasmine suggested. Kim called Charlie's office. His secretary picked up and told her that he hadn't come into work today. She didn't know where he was. Camilla was even more convinced that Charlie was involved in this conspiracy. "This place isn't safe anymore," Jasmine called out from the window. Kim and Camilla looked outside and saw a horde of reporters making their way to the apartment. Camilla gritted her teeth. "Charlie must have sold us out. If I see him again, I'll beat him up." "Now isn't the time to talk about that," Jasmine said. "Do you have another exit besides the main entrance?" "No," Camilla replied. "But even if our building did have one, we wouldn't be able to escape the reporters. They already know that we left through the back door at Tanith Corporation." The three of them were at a loss. As reporters continued to gather outside, more people left critical comments on the internet. The daily operations of Tanith Corporation could no longer function as usual. "I'll call Steven and see if he has any ideas," Kim said. Jasmine's face lit up. Steven was the owner of the Wyvern Group. He would know how to get them out of this. "Hello, Steven? Sorry, I couldn't call you until now. Something unexpected came up." "What happened?" Steven asked, tone anxious. "Kim, just tell the doctor that we'll be fine. We're capable of raising a child. There's nothing we won't be able to handle." Kim was speechless. "What? And what?" Steven was still at the hotel. He'd been pacing back and forth ever since Kim left for the hospital. He was too nervous to leave and check his phone, so he wasn't aware of the chaos happening on the internet. When Kim told Steven that something unexpected had come up, he assumed that she thought they weren't ready to raise a child together. This was the cliché storyline of many romantic movies. "Steven, just turn on your phone and read the news," Kim said in exasperation. Steven whipped out his phone without a word. All the latest news had some variation of Kim Cassidy's pregnancy in the headlines. Steven pressed on a random article, and his anxiety was replaced with anger. But he quickly composed himself when he realized that this wasn't a simple scandal. "Kim, where are you now? I'll come and pick you up." "I'm at Camilla's apartment, but the entrance is swarming with reporters. I can't leave without them seeing me." "Got it," Steven said. "Leave this to me." Steven contacted Dennis and asked for him to clear out the reporters in front of Camilla's apartment. Dennis was clever. Instead of driving to the apartment and forcing them to leave, he used the excuse of fire to notify Washington, D.C.'s military base. They were the closest to the district, so Dennis asked Juan to send out troops to drive away the reporters with the excuse of extinguishing a fire. During the commotion, Steven quietly took Kim away. The small villa, Tanith Corporation, and many other places had been exposed. The reporters were paying close attention to those special places, so Steven decided to let Kim stay in the military base courtyard for the time being. The place was a little crude, but it was a remote location guarded by soldiers. It was much safer than staying in the middle of the district. Kim was concerned about the project, so Steven discreetly sent Jasmine to Tanith Corporation as a representative of the Wyvern Group under orders from the owner. She temporarily took over Kim's work to ensure the smooth progress of the project. Kim was safe, but news of the scandal didn't stop. It was like a powerful force behind the scenes kept pushing the news out into the open. Her pregnancy was like a trendy TV series that everyone couldn't stop talking about. Of course, the news quickly spread to the Cassidy family. At the moment, the Haynes family was gathered at the Cassidy family's villa. Each and every one of them had a gloomy expression on their face. Helen was especially angry. "I would have never thought that my own granddaughter would ruin our family's reputation like this." Gordon agreed. "We let it go when she wanted to marry Steven again, but seducing a married man, becoming a mistress, and having his child is unacceptable." "If it weren't for the news, I would have thought that she was carrying Steven's child," Mavis said. "This is the first time something like this has happened to our family." Natalie didn't approve of everyone's criticisms. Kim was her daughter.
I don't approve of Kim marrying Stephen again, but you can't jump to conclusions and criticize her like this. We all watched Kim grow up. Don't you know what kind of person she is?
Aunt Natalie, we want to trust Kim, Rebecca said. But look at the evidence. What else are we supposed to think? To make matters worse, the child's father is missing. It's obvious that he ran away after his scandal with Kim was exposed. Helen scowled at Natalie and Kyle. Did you two hear what Rebecca said? The adulterer she found ran off the second his affair was exposed. I needn't say more. Natalie and Kyle had no words to refute. They wanted to defend Kim, but they had no way of doing that. The truth in front of them was a believable lie weaved from facts. Mavis sighed. My family's reputation has always been clean. We've never had a scandal like this before.
From today onwards, the Haynes family will cut off all ties with Kim, Gordon announced.
Helen didn't want to fall behind.
The Cassidy family will also be expelling Kim. She's no longer part of our family.
Natalie and Kyle exchanged a nervous glance. There was nothing they could do to change their minds. Kim's scandal continued to escalate with no signs of stopping. The daily operations of Tanith Corporation were affected significantly. One of Kim's capable assistants, Danielle, leaned on her desk and advised Jasmine. If this continues, our company will collapse soon. We have to do something. Do you have any ideas? Jasmine asked. First, we should hold a press conference and give an explanation to the public regarding Miss Kim's pregnancy. By clarifying the facts and letting the public know the truth, our company will be able to operate normally. Hiding from the public and the reporters is not the solution. Jasmine considered her suggestion. As the CEO's assistant, Danielle had always worked hard. Kim trusted her, so Jasmine decided to go along with Danielle's idea. That afternoon, Tanith Corporation held a press conference. Because of Jasmine's temporary position at the company, the responsibility for the conference was given to Danielle. There was a huge crowd when the conference began. Reporters from various news outlets rushed to ask questions. Danielle faced them and welcomed them with a smile. During today's press conference, I would like to clarify the truth behind Miss Kim's pregnancy. Yes, she is indeed pregnant, and the truth is as you've already guessed. The child's father is not her ex-husband, Mr. Adams. It's someone else. The crowd grew wild with anticipation. Who is it? Someone called out. Danielle's smile widened. It's the general manager of Tanith Corporation, Mr. Charlie. The crowd went into an uproar. The reporters had originally thought that Danielle would defend Kim and protect her image on behalf of the public relations department. But she confirmed the speculations the instant she opened her mouth. Danielle's words were credible because she was Kim's assistant. Quick, take a picture, one of the reporters instructed. This will blow all the other articles out of the water. Jasmine was watching from the sidelines, and she was dumbfounded. Miss Danielle, are you crazy? What nonsense are you talking about? Danielle shook her head and said, It's not nonsense. As of late, Mr. Charlie has been entering Kim's office more frequently. He stays for 1 to 2 hours. Mr. Charlie is married, but Miss Kim is single. A man and a woman in an office together can lead to unexpected developments. I'm ashamed that Tanith Corporation is under the leadership of such a person. Danielle stood up and lowered her head. As Miss Kim's assistant, I would like to apologize to everyone. Danielle's actions represented the company, and it was the same as them admitting that Kim had hooked up with Charlie. Needless to say, the reporters wouldn't be giving up this scoop even if their lives depended on it. The conference room was filled with flashes and sounds of camera shutters. But Danielle wasn't done. I've always wanted to talk to Miss Kim about her relationship to Mr. Charlie, but I didn't have the courage. Today, I'd like to be honest in front of all of you. The truth is, Miss Kim has recruited numerous employees through the back door. The executives of the company don't approve of her methods, but she's the boss, and her words carry weight. So even if we're dissatisfied, the only thing we can do is endure and pretend that nothing's happened. I once again would like to apologize to everyone on behalf of Tanith Corporation. Jasmine narrowed her eyes. Danielle, this is slander. Kim trusted you, and she's put effort into showing you the ropes. What a waste. This time, Danielle ignored her. Instead, she turned towards the upper management on the other side of the room. Kim's vile actions have damaged Tanith Corporation's reputation. I propose an emergency meeting with the board of directors. We'll have them vote to decide whether or not Kim should be dismissed from the position. Jasmine's suspicions were confirmed. Danielle was coveting the position of CEO. Kim was the legal representative of Tanith Corporation, but the board of directors and some of the upper management had shared. The company's regulations stated that under special circumstances, all shareholders had a right to hold a board meeting and dismiss the legal representative. Charlie was the biggest competitor, but he was nowhere to be found. So if Kim was removed from her position as the CEO, there would be a high probability that Danielle would take over the CEO position. Tanith Corporation would be hers. What's more, the company had just taken back the project of 100 billion capital. If Danielle became the CEO, she would inherit the project and become just as famous as Kim had been before her scandal. Danielle gave Jasmine a grin. It's too late now. There's nothing you can do to help your friend. Her voice was soft, but when she faced the reporters, she raised her voice so everyone in the room could hear. Miss Jasmine, I know you're close with Miss Kim, but if you have a conscience, you should have taken the initiative to expose her shameless actions. Now, Kim wasn't the only one receiving the public's ridicule. Jasmine was in the same boat. Jasmine was seething with anger when the door flew open. The crowd who had been criticizing her and Kim fell silent as a group of people rushed into the room aggressively. The woman in the lead cursed Kim. Where is she? Call her out. We won't be leaving until we get justice today. Just where did she learn how to hook up with a married man? A sharp-eyed reporter recognized the woman and the rest of the group. It's Charlie's family. The people at the front are his parents and his wife. All cameras were directed at their group. The situation was chaotic, and the argument wasn't refined. But the reporters were thrilled at getting a chance to witness them arguing. The more unpleasant the argument, the more exciting it would be. They hoped that the conflict would intensify. The appearance of Charlie's wife and their children was undeniable evidence that Kim had hooked up with a married man. Charlie's wife dragged the two children into the conference room. Where is Kim? She repeated. There are so many unmarried men out there, but she chose to hook up with my husband? The upper management of Tanith Corporation looked at each other in dismay. Charlie's wife was scolding Kim, but as the uppermost management of the company, they felt ashamed. Charlie's wife continued to clamor. Tell Kim to come out. I need to teach her a lesson. The reporters focused on her face. The camera shutters and flashes didn't stop. Danielle stood up and apologized again. I'm really sorry for what Miss Kim has done to you. I understand how you feel. We're also searching for her. Rest assured, we'll inform you once we find her. She's not here, Charlie's wife demanded. She sure runs fast. She's done something wrong. Of course she has to run and hide, one of her family members called out. Even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground, we'll find her. Jasmine glared at Danielle. You have no idea what's going on. What right do you have to apologize on behalf of Kim? Danielle shrugged. Yes, I'm not qualified, but you're Kim's friend. You have more of a right than I do. She pointed out Jasmine to Charlie's wife. This is Jasmine Cruz, Kim's closest friend. If anyone knows where Kim is, she's the person to ask. Charlie's wife's gaze locked onto Jasmine. She went up to Jasmine and grabbed her shoulders. Where's Kim? If we don't find her today, we'll turn this building into shambles. Jasmine struggled to free herself, but Charlie's wife was too strong. Security, she called out. Tanith Corporation security guards rushed over, but Charlie's family blocked them. The scene became a mess. The reporters took advantage of the chaos and broadcasted the entire situation. At Imperial Holdings headquarters, Gerald, Cynthia, and the executives were in the conference room, watching a live broadcast of Tanith Corporation on the screen. Gerald clapped his hands. Well done, Cynthia. I'll be sure to put in a good word for you to Mr. Johan. Thank you. Cynthia said proudly. Even if Kim took back the project, she won't be able to enjoy its benefits. Kim's reputation is ruined beyond repair, one of the executives added. Making a comeback is impossible.
Charlie is the key player in our plan. Where is he now? Gerald asked. We can't let anyone find him.
Don't worry, he's hiding in a secure location, Cynthia promised. No one will be able to find him. This is only the beginning. I plan to get him to release another wave of gossip that will ruin Tanith Corporation forever. Once it collapses, it won't be long until we annex the Wyvern Group. Gerald was satisfied with her answer.
All right, keep up the good work.
While news of Kim's pregnancy was spiraling out of control, Stephen wasn't idling about. At this time, he was with the 4 great generals in the meeting room at the military base courtyard. They were watching the news. Stephen's expression darkened when the criticisms took a turn for the worse.
Mr. Adams, it's time for us to go on the defensive, Dennis said. If we don't clear your wife's name now, it'll be much harder to do so later.
Rosalind nodded in agreement. This is a conspiracy, and Kim is the target. The person who can give us answers is Charlie, but he's missing. No one knows where he's hiding.
There he is, Dennis exclaimed.
Stephen, Rosalind, Zachary, and Jaden turned their attention back to the TV. The man on the screen was none other than the general manager of Tanith Corporation, Charlie. A live broadcast of an interview with Charlie was on the screen.
Yes, I admit that I had an unspeakable relationship with Kim, but it was she who seduced me. I couldn't resist the temptation, and I've disappointed my wife, my children, and my family. It's true. She's pregnant with our child. There's nothing wrong with that. The child is not at fault. However, Kim tried to use our child as a bargaining chip to threaten me to divorce my wife and marry her instead. I love my wife so much. We've been married for many years. How could I abandon her and my children? Charlie paused and made a big show of wiping his tears away, showing the audience that he was immensely distraught. Dennis, Rosalind, Zachary, and Jaden glanced at Stephen. His lips were in a tight line, and fury was blazing in his eyes. They'd never seen him so angry before. The interview continued. I want to apologize to my wife, my children, my family, and everyone who cares about me. Kim tempted me, and I've committed a grave sin. But I'm willing to repent. I'm a changed man. I won't let Kim string me along. It doesn't matter how much she threatens me and entices me. I'll never be with a woman like her. I'll never divorce my wife. Charlie looked straight into the camera, like someone who was walking to his death. Kim, do your worst. I'll never back down. The interview immediately became a hot topic. In less than 10 minutes, the number of viewers had reached 1 million, and it had been forwarded 100,000 times. During the interview, Charlie narrated his experience of being threatened by Kim. He victimized himself and won the sympathy of the audience. His recount aligned with the previous accusations, twisting the truth even further. The viewers left hateful comments and cursed Kim. Stephen almost snapped his phone out of anger when he scrolled through the comments section. The 4 great generals tensed. They knew he was about to give them instructions to counterattack. They'd followed Stephen for a long time, so they had a good understanding of his personality. If it wasn't clear before, it's clear now. Someone is working behind the scenes to drive Kim's reputation to the ground. It's time for us to retaliate. Rosalind, locate Charlie before dawn. Compile a list of reporters who are smearing Kim's name and the higher-ups who are letting this happen. I have a guess as to who's behind this. Find them, but leave them alone. I'll deal with them personally. Stephen gave several instructions in rapid succession, all in one breath. Rosalind got to work and began her search for Charlie. As a skilled hacker, she could hack into the network of any bank in an instant to check the cash flow. She hacked into Charlie's bank account and traced the clues to find his personal account. Very quickly, Charlie's whereabouts and his activities for the past few days were laid out in the open. Mr. Adams, Charlie's personal bank account has an extra $2 billion that was transferred from an overseas bank. Danielle's account has an additional $1 billion that was also transferred from overseas.
And that's not all. Charlie has followed you and your wife into the hotel many times right after you two entered. He was intentionally pretending like he was there for your wife. As for the photos of Charlie entering and exiting your wife's office, Danielle took them in secret. She colluded with Charlie and sold them to the mastermind. There's also a well-known reporter who took photos of Charlie and your wife's meeting at Camilla's apartment. She sold the photos to major news outlets and fabricated the truth. I've compiled a list of the news and media agencies that publish these articles, and they all have one thing in common. They have a connection with a famous public relations company owned by Cynthia's uncle. It's clear that Gerald and Cynthia are behind this. Stephen nodded. Now we know exactly what's going on. It's time for us to make our move. Dennis, Rosalind, Zachary, and Jaden, your first task is to bring back a reporter named Ted. He's written more articles than anyone else to discredit Kim. It's like he's addicted. We have to put a stop to that. The lights were still on at the district's evening newspaper agency late into the night. Everyone was working overtime because gossip about Kim's pregnancy continued to rise. As the first news outlet to report on this topic, they'd become the benchmark of the media industry. They had to release a follow-up before the morning newspaper was released. Ted had been a relatively unknown reporter until a few days ago when he received news from an anonymous informant about Kim's scandal. He seized the opportunity and wrote an article that became a hot topic in less than an hour. Ted became famous through the article, and he became the evening newspaper's new favorite. The chief editor opened up a column for him and asked him to write an update on Kim's scandal. Even Ted's superior, who never really cared about her colleagues, took the initiative to chat him up. "Haven't you been working too hard, Ted?" his superior said, moving closer to him. "I've made a reservation for dinner. It'll be set up in your hotel room in a short while." Ted gave her a confused look. "I didn't book a hotel." His superior took out a key card from her purse and placed it on his desk. "I did it for you. It's already this late. Why not stay at a hotel nearby instead of going home? Of course, if you have any other requests for our evening newspaper, I'll do my best to satisfy you." "Thank you." As Ted picked up the card key, his hand brushed against his superior's arm. It was only a few days ago when he was a nobody in this office, but now his life had changed. Before Ted could take his superior up on her offer, the door opened, and two tall men entered the room. "Which one of you is Ted?" Zachary asked. The employees turned to Ted with envy on their faces. Ever since Kim's scandal was reported to the public, Ted's fame had soared. Many people came to look for him on a daily basis, so they'd gotten used to it. Ted never bragged about it, but his arrogant attitude towards them said it all. He knew that he'd been making a lot of money from working with these people. Ted strolled up to Zachary and Jaden, thinking they were here to talk about a collaboration. "That's me. May I ask who you—" Before he could finish, Zachary grabbed him by the collar and pulled him out the door. Ted's protests fell on deaf ears. The chief editor stepped forward to stop them. "Who are you? You can't drag my employee out like this." Zachary looked over his shoulder. "This man smeared Kim's name for days on end. That alone is enough of a reason. But who are you?" "I'm the chief editor." "Then you played a part in this too." Zachary glanced at Jaden. "Take him with us." Like what had happened with Ted, the chief editor's protests were ignored. Jaden dragged him out of the office. The same situation happened at the other news outlets that had been inflating Kim's scandal for their own gain. In one night, a majority of the district's media agencies came to a halt. Meanwhile, Haley was tapping away on her laptop with her phone over her ear. "How did it go? Did you contact him?" "No, he's not picking up," her assistant replied. "It's strange because he hasn't picked up the money we've prepared for him. He took it right away last time. Also, the district's evening newspaper got off work 3 hours earlier than usual yesterday. That almost never happens. Something might have happened to him. The Wyvern Group is Kim's backer. It's not that easy to deal with them." Haley felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. "Find out what's going on at other news agencies," she instructed. Her assistant called back 15 minutes later. "I don't know what happened, but they're laying low." "I have a bad feeling about all this. What if they find me?" "That won't happen, Haley," her assistant said. "The basement you're in is well hidden. No one will be able to find you. You can hide there in peace." In the next second, the door to Haley's basement flew open, and two men stepped inside. "Who are you?" Haley asked nervously. Zachary and Jaden ignored her. They took out their phones and examined the photo on the screen, comparing it with the woman in front of them. "We're in the right place," Zachary said. "That's Haley. She colluded with Charlie to ruin Kim's reputation." "What are you talking about?" Haley demanded. "I've never colluded with anyone. Trespassing into my house is a crime. I'm calling the police." But before she could dial the number, Zachary's murderous gaze stopped her dead in her tracks. Haley froze. A bone-deep fear washed over her. "What's wrong? Weren't you going to call the police?" Zachary asked when she didn't do anything. Jaden walked over, snatched her phone, and snapped it in half. Haley's gaze trailed after their broken phone as it clattered to the floor. She didn't dare move a muscle. This man could easily crush her with his bare hands. "Do you still want to call the police?" Jaden asked. Haley shook her head frantically. Jaden scoffed. What a coward. He and Zachary took her away. 1 hour later, all the relevant reporters and paparazzi were arrested, and the district's news came to a standstill. "Mr. Adams, everyone that was involved has been arrested," Zachary reported. "We got their confessions on video. The main culprits, Haley and Ted, are among them." "Good work," Stephen said. "Next, it's the public relations company's turn. Rosalind, send them an email. Let's give them a chance to redeem themselves." Understood. Rosalind sat in front of her laptop, typed up a short email, and hit send.
Kim was surprised. Cynthia's uncle was the CEO of a public relations company. He was planning on staying overnight in his office so he could monitor Kim's scandal. He'd earned more than $500 million in the past few days, which exceeded his target by 2 seasons. Cynthia's uncle had taken advantage of their business as a public relations company to discredit Kim for gray profits. This wasn't his first time. He'd ruined many innocent public figures in the past and forced them out of the public circle. A ding from his laptop notified him of a new email. It read, "I'll give you one chance. Clarify the truth about Kim Cassidy's pregnancy and apologize to her within an hour. If you refuse, the consequences will be dire." He didn't recognize the email address, and the message didn't have a signature. He was making good money. Why should he stop? He ignored the warning and posted an update about Kim's scandal on an online forum. He included the contents of the email he'd just received and wrote, "Kim Cassidy has no morals. After her scandal was exposed, she sent a warning to our company to threaten us." He'd deliberately constructed the posts in a way that made him seem like the victim. His post was well received, and the viewers supported him. The post went viral, and $50 million entered his company's account. Their main business involved garnering hype on the forum. The more people discussed Kim's scandal, the higher his income would be. In the sales industry, the results were proportional to the commission. A second email was sent to Cynthia's uncle. It read, "I've given you a chance. There are 45 minutes left before the hour is up. It's not too late to redeem yourself." Like with the first email, he ignored the warning. He closed his laptop and decided to take a nap. 1 hour later, he was startled awake when the glass window to his office shattered. Zachary and Jaden jumped through the window and landed in front of his desk. Cynthia's uncle turned pale. His office was located on the 33rd floor of the building. How had they broken in from the window? More than 10 people in uniform jumped into the office after them. Zachary walked up to them. "You're brave for ignoring our emails." Cynthia's uncle suddenly realized that it wasn't Kim who'd sent the emails. It was these people, and they did not look friendly. But he didn't back down. "Oh, I get it. Kim was mad that her scandalous relationship was revealed to the public, so she found you people to threaten innocence." "Innocence?" Zachary repeated with a sneer. "You know the truth better than anyone else. Stop pretending." "I've always been innocent," Cynthia's uncle said. "Kim agreed to marry her ex-husband again, but she hooked up with a married man. A woman like her is rare to come by. The public deserves to know." Without warning, Jaden lifted Cynthia's uncle from the couch and threw him on the floor. "Still want to lie?"
Jaden didn't wait for an answer. He grabbed him and pressed him against the wall. Tell me, what is the truth? Cynthia's uncle raised both hands in surrender.
Okay, I'll tell you. The whole thing was a lie. I was just taking money from other people and doing what they wanted.
Jaden threw him on the table. You should have said so sooner.
Take him and his employees away,
Zachary instructed the troops behind him. Kim's scandal was at an all-time high after Cynthia's uncle posted on the forum. The email that was included attracted a lot of attention. Gerald and Cynthia had been paying close attention to the latest developments for the past few days. Cynthia scrolled through her uncle's post with admiration. My uncle did a great job. I was wondering how he could intensify Kim's scandal, but this post is the only thing we need.
You did well, Gerald said. We should speed things up and ruin Kim for good. She's been hiding up until now, but let's see how long she can stay hidden from the public.
Cynthia picked up her phone. I'll contact the news outlets and have them work overtime to hype up this post. But when she tried to make a few calls, no one picked up. She changed tactics and called specific reporters through their personal numbers instead, but she still couldn't get through. She stared at her phone in confusion. What's happening? They should be working overtime because of Kim's scandal. Why aren't they picking up?
Maybe something happened? Call your uncle.
Cynthia dialed her uncle's number, but no one answered. She turned on her laptop and checked the news. None of the news outlets had posted a follow-up article for the past few hours. She suddenly had a bad feeling. This couldn't have been Stephen's doing, right? Stephen was the owner of the Wyvern Group, so he was competent to some degree.
That's not possible, Gerald said. Over 50 news outlets and hundreds of reporters are involved. Even if he's the owner of the Wyvern Group, he wouldn't be able to make them all disappear in one night.
What Gerald and Cynthia didn't know was that Stephen was the commander-in-chief and the Grand Palace Master. Getting rid of over 50 media outlets and 100 reporters was as easy as waving a hand.
Did you find Charlie?
Stephen asked at the military base courtyard. Rosalind lowered her head in shame. No, he's cunning. I haven't found his location yet.
It's not your fault, but I've checked his resume. He used to serve in the army as a scout. He's skilled in anti-reconnaissance. It's understandable that it's difficult to locate him.
Stephen thought for a moment.
Dennis, if you were Charlie, where would you hide?
Even Rosalind hasn't found him yet, so he must have prepared his hiding place in advance, Dennis analyzed. We won't be able to find him if we search the places he's been to. Since he was a scout in the army, he might be thinking something like, the safest place is the most dangerous place. Okay, but what's considered the most dangerous place? Jaden asked. Dennis glanced at Rosalind, who got the hint. She turned back to her laptop and typed on the keyboard. A conspicuous yellow dot appeared on the screen. Rosalind pointed at the dot. He's here. He really calculated everything. He's been hiding in Tanith Corporation's warehouse.
All right, bring him here, Stephen said.
The four great generals set off with a thunderous momentum. They rushed to the warehouse, and sure enough, they found Charlie. Danielle was with him. They walked in on them naked and lying on top of each other. Charlie and Danielle scrambled to cover themselves. Rosalind used her phone to record the unsightly scene. Put on your clothes and come with us. Very quickly, Charlie and Danielle were brought in front of Stephen. So it was you, Stephen. You're the one who sent people to drag us here. Just like Ted, Haley, and Cynthia's uncle, Charlie and Danielle weren't afraid in the slightest after knowing that Stephen was involved. To them, he was a nobody who relied on Kim for living expenses.
You already know why you're here, don't you? Stephen asked.
Stephen, I know you're upset after finding out that Kim's child isn't yours, but I was a victim too. She seduced me first. I have a wife and a family. She used her child to force me to divorce my wife and marry her instead. Stephen's eyes narrowed.
You have a talent for making up stories. Not becoming a screenwriter is a waste.
I'm not making anything up, Charlie said. I'm warning you now. The public isn't siding with Kim. You should think about what will happen if you stand up for her.
That's right, Danielle shouted from the side. This is entirely Kim's fault. Why did you bring us here?
Let us go, or you'll have to face the consequences. Consequences? Stephen took out his phone and played the video that Rosalind had sent him. Between you and me, who has more to lose? Danielle kept her mouth shut. Move to the side and stay there. I'll deal with you later. Danielle did as she was told. He had her weakness. Stephen turned to look at Charlie. What are you waiting for? Do you need me to beat you up to tell the truth? Charlie wasn't afraid. What more do you want? I told the truth. Don't think you can threaten me just because you caught me sleeping with Danielle. My image is already ruined. Another scandal means nothing to me. I can just announce to the public that it was Danielle who seduced me. I can't be helped. Married men are charming. Charlie, I can hear you, Danielle shouted. If Charlie came clean, her reputation would be affected too. Stephen stared at Charlie and clenched his fist. I'm giving you a chance. Are you testing my patience? I should warn you that I have everything, but not patience. I don't need a chance. I suggest you let me go as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't have a good time either. Stephen's fist connected with Charlie's face, cutting him off. Charlie used to be a scout in the army, so he had a decent physique, but even he was dazed by the strength in Stephen's punch. Charlie regained his bearings and glared at Stephen, refusing to give in. His willpower was higher than everyone who'd come before him. You think you can force me to submit by using violence? Even if I die, I'll never yield to you. Your wife, Kim Cassidy, is a degenerate woman who sleeps around with married men. She's pregnant with my child, and she's threatened to divorce my wife and marry her. Are you trying to defend her after knowing what she's done? This time, Stephen was unnaturally calm. Charlie, I've given you more than one chance. I want the truth, but you keep prattling lies. That's fine. Have it your way. Don't regret this later. Charlie ended up confessing everything in great detail. Stephen, Dennis, Zachary, and Jaden huddled around Rosalind and listened to the recording on her phone. Someone came to us and promised us a huge sum of money. It was enough for us to spend the rest of our lives overseas. Their only request was for us to ruin Kim's reputation. In the beginning, none of us wanted to do anything like that, but they used our weaknesses against us. They even used my own wife and children to threaten me. After I received the money they promised me, I fell deeper and could only continue with our plan. When Kim got pregnant, I proposed to share her workload and entered the hotel after you two went inside. I had no choice. I was under orders. I was told to create the false impression that I was in a relationship with Kim. The recording ended there. Stephen stepped back and glanced at Charlie's bloody body. He was alive, but barely. Get ready, Stephen said to the four great generals. We're reaching the finale. Gerald and Cynthia waited an entire night for the news outlets to contact them back. Gerald's patience ran out in the morning. Are they still not answering? Cynthia shook her head. A senior executive ran into the room. We've lost contact with Charlie and Danielle. No matter how dense Gerald and Cynthia were, they instantly understood that someone was targeting them. This is bad. Check the news, another executive called out. His eyes were glued to his phone. Gerald, Cynthia, and the other higher-ups took out their phones. Kim's scandal was being buried by news articles with attention-grabbing headlines. The truth about Kim Cassidy's pregnancy. The ultimate reversal. Kim Cassidy's scandal was a conspiracy. Justice for Kim Cassidy. The truth is out. The masterminds have surfaced. These articles had been published by the exact same news outlets that Gerald and Cynthia had failed to contact last night. They'd even released a centralized message at the same time, stating that they wanted to reveal the truth of Kim's scandal. Out of curiosity, Gerald and Cynthia pressed the link included in the message. Another article appeared. None of the people in contact with Cynthia were spared. Their names were on full display for the public to see. At the end of the article, the news outlet made a public apology. They apologized for reporting false news. The article included interviews with Ted, Haley, and Cynthia's uncle, expressing their guilt for framing Kim. Charlie and Danielle's interviews were next. Charlie revealed that he was offered a large amount of money to ruin Kim's reputation. The recording of him and Danielle in bed was also made public, which turned the people against them. Gerald was going crazy. Can someone tell me what's going on? How did Stephen manage to get the news outlets on his side? And who was the person who promised me that the Wyvern Group would never find out? He glared at Cynthia. Cynthia, explain yourself. I underestimated Stephen, Cynthia said apologetically. I'm responsible for what happened, but now's not the time for that. Stephen has already gotten this far. He definitely knows that we're behind it. I'm worried he'll come after us. She knew that Stephen was the type of person who would get even no matter how minor the other party slighted him, especially when the people he cared about were involved. Stephen may not have had that much influence back when they met in Los Angeles, but now he was the owner of the Wyvern Group, and he was capable of getting all the news outlets on his side. That was enough to show how influential he had become. Even if Stephen comes for us, he doesn't have evidence, Gerald said. The reporters and paparazzi were the ones who did all the work. From the beginning until the end, our company had nothing to do with them. The compensation we gave them was in the name of other companies. There's no proof that we're involved. Cynthia was impressed that Gerald had thought of a way out since the very beginning. You want to meet Mr. Johan? Gerald continued. Don't even think about it. Learn from me during your free time. And don't forget, this is Imperial Holdings, the Addams family's business. Even if Stephen does have the evidence, what can he do to us? If he values his life, he'll stay far away from us. Kim's scandal was thrown into chaos with the amount of media coverage it was getting. After the truth came to light, everyone was adamant to get Kim the justice she deserved, including those who slandered her the most. All of them admitted their mistakes and apologized. Kim's name was soon cleared. Natalie cried tears of relief when she and Kyle read the articles. As for the Cassidy and Haynes families, when they found out the truth, they started to praise Kim, saying that she was a hero amongst women. Kim made a public announcement confirming that she was pregnant, but the child wasn't Charlie's, it was Stephen's. At the same time, she took the opportunity to announce their wedding date. Her announcement attracted a lot of attention. She received sympathy from many people for staying positive after going through a rough time. They gave her and Stephen their blessings in the comments section. Kim's reputation rose, and more companies wanted to do business with her. Tanith Corporation's stocks had fallen during the scandal, but they rose sharply after it was over. There was an upward trend, and it showed no signs of stopping. Stephen was with the 4 great generals at the military base courtyard. He mentally checked off the people he needed to deal with. Ted, Haley, Cynthia's uncle, Charlie, Danielle, all of them have been arrested. Next, it's time to confront the masterminds, the CEO of Imperial Holdings and his assistant. What do you plan to do with them? Zachary asked. They almost ruined Kim's reputation and her company beyond repair. There's only one ending for them. Stephen took Zachary with him to Imperial Holdings headquarters in New York City. Sir, do you have an appointment? The receptionist asked. We are here to get rid of a few people, Stephen said, looking her dead in the eye. Why do we need an appointment? The receptionist stiffened. This was the first time someone had come to Imperial Holdings intending to make a scene. While she was distracted, Stephen and Zachary walked into the elevator. The receptionist snapped out of it and grabbed the walkie-talkie. Security! 2 suspicious men are heading for the CEO's office. Stop him! The security guards ran into the lobby. Stephen and Zachary had taken the elevator up, so they hurried to the stairs, hoping to cut them off before they reached the CEO's office. When Stephen and Zachary stepped out of the elevator, the security guards rushed over with every intention to stop them with force. However, they couldn't withstand a single blow from Zachary. He didn't even use much strength, but the security guards were already on the floor, groaning in pain. In the CEO's office, Gerald was confidently telling Cynthia and the executives that they didn't have to worry about Stephen. Just then, the door was kicked open. 2 people came in. Stephen was in the lead. Behind him was a young man they didn't recognize. Cynthia and the executives looked at each other, while Gerald was feeling embarrassed. Stephen's timing was the worst. Stephen scanned the crowd with a smile. We're just in time. They're all here. Saves me the trouble of looking for them. He ignored their stares and walked straight to Gerald. Zachary grabbed Gerald by the collar, lifted him out of his seat, and pulled the chair out. Mr. Adams, please have a seat. Stephen nodded and sat down. Stephen, what are you doing? Cynthia said. Get up. That's not a seat that you can casually sit on. Stephen ignored her and swept his gaze over the crowd. Do you know why I'm here? Gerald pretended like he had no idea. I don't know what you're doing here, but I do know that you barged into the company without permission. Cynthia called out for security. Save your breath, Stephen said. The security guards won't be coming. My friend beat them up. He looked at Gerald. Let me ask you again. Do you know why I'm here? How would I know? Everyone in the room knew why Stephen was there, but Gerald was confident that Stephen wouldn't be able to do anything to them with the Adams family on their side. You don't know? Is that your final answer? Stephen leapt out of his seat. He grabbed Gerald's head and smashed him hard on the desk. Cynthia and the other executives were startled by the sudden turn of events. Still don't know? Stephen repeated. Gerald was stubborn, even when his head was about to split open. I told you I don't know. I know what you want to hear, but your wife's scandal has nothing to do with me. Stephen looked at Cynthia and the executives. What about you guys? Are you going to be like him and claim that you weren't involved? Cynthia suppressed her fear. Stephen, we might hold a grudge against you, but the Adams family is our boss. Why would we do such a despicable thing? Why would we want to harm Kim? We're of noble status, the other executives echoed. We would never do something like that. Gerald's head was pounding, but he managed to grin. If everyone refused to admit it, there would be nothing that Stephen could do to them. Noble status? I've heard that one before. Stephen grabbed a pen from the desk and stabbed the back of Gerald's hand. His scream filled the office. Still want to claim you're innocent? Stephen asked. Cynthia refused to back down. What do you want us to do? Admit to something we're not guilty of? I didn't think you'd be so stubborn. Stephen held out his hand to Zachary. Give me my dagger. Zachary unsheathed a large silver dagger and handed it to him. Stephen spun the dagger between his fingers. See this? The blade is sharp. If you're cut, I can't guarantee you'll survive. He turned to Zachary. Remember that one time? How many times did I cut that guy's flesh? I was counting. You made 1,001 cuts while he was alive and conscious. Are you planning on doing that again? Gerald, Cynthia, and the other executives shuddered when they saw the eager look on Zachary's face. Cynthia's heart pounded. Who exactly was Stephen? How could he be so cruel without batting an eye? Stephen looked around the room as if he was in a dilemma. Who do you think I should choose first? Everyone lowered their gaze, too afraid to meet his eyes. What a bunch of cowards. Stephen's gaze shifted to Gerald. I think you're the one who's the most resistant to beatings, so I might as well start with you. To tell you the truth, I've always wanted to try cutting 10,000 times of human flesh without killing them. You're the perfect test subject. He raised his dagger. Gerald, who'd been enduring the beatings up until now, surrendered when the blade was a mere centimeter from his skin. He explained how they planned everything in detail. Cynthia came forward when Gerald gave in. The CEO of the public relations company involved in Kim's scandal is my uncle. I told him about our plan, and he carried it out perfectly. Stephen swept his gaze across the room. So a single threat was all it took for you to come clean. It was only a few minutes ago when you said people of your noble status would never commit such a crime. How disappointing. What do you want? Cynthia asked. It's not about what I want. You framed my wife and ruined her reputation. This is about what you deserve. Okay, how about this? Cynthia said. We'll gather the reporters and make a public apology to Kim. We'll also give her compensation. Please tell us the exact number. We can afford it even if it's in the hundreds of millions. This was nothing new. Cynthia and the other executives have done a lot of dirty business to defeat their competitors. They'd been exposed, but they had the Addams family as their backer. They were rich enough to rival a country. They could settle any trouble with money. Even a price of $1 billion or a few billion would be possible.
I want $100 billion, Stephen said. Can you afford it?
Cynthia stared at him. It was true that the Addams family was wealthy, but they wouldn't take out $100 billion to clean up their mess. Gerald, Cynthia, and the other executives weren't worth that much.
To be honest, even if you gave me $1 trillion, it'd be a drop in the ocean. $100 billion is useless to me.
Cynthia had a feeling that the conversation was about to take a sharp turn. Then what do you want?
When I first came here, I said something to the receptionist. Tell them what I said, Stephen said to Zachary. Okay, listen carefully. Mr. Addams is here to get rid of a few people.
Everyone's confidence vanished.
Don't worry, I'll leave right after. I won't delay your company's operations.
Stephen spoke like he was about to chop vegetables to prepare lunch. Gerald and Cynthia had only resorted to assassins to deal with their particularly troublesome opponents. They'd never done it themselves.
You wouldn't dare.
Cynthia's words were bold, but there was a tremble in her voice.
Why wouldn't I?
Stephen, we're the executives of Imperial Holdings. The Addams family is behind us. We were able to contact Mr. Johann directly. Aren't you afraid of provoking them? Cynthia's words helped the rest of them regain their fighting spirit. They were the core members of the Addams family's business, and they could contact the family directly. What was there to be afraid of? Even Gerald got to his feet and assumed his previous imposing posture. I suggest you do what Cynthia said. We can make a public apology to your wife on the news, and I'll ask the finance department to transfer $100 million to her as compensation. As for your plan to dispose of us, I advise you to give up. I know you're somewhat capable. You're from the Addams family, after all, but you would know better than anyone just how powerful they are. Mr. Johann alone would be enough to crush you. Cynthia agreed. We're doing your wife a big favor. You should know your limits. Even if you're the owner of the Wyvern Group, compared to the #1 family in the country, you're nothing. Stephen smiled in amusement.
So you want me to forget about this in return for an apology and some pocket change?
You don't have a choice, Gerald said. We're backed by the Addams family. $100 million is enough to settle this. He patted Stephen's shoulder. I'm not looking down on you. It's just that no one in the country is capable of going against the Addams family. You're only one person. No matter how wronged you feel, you can only accept it. Stephen took one look at Gerald's hand on his shoulder and sent him flying with a kick. He crashed into the wall. Cynthia went pale. Stephen, are you crazy? Mr. Gerald is someone who Mr. Johann contacted directly. Being violent with him is the same as provoking the Addams family.
Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have the Addams family on your side?
Stephen asked with contempt.
Yes, I'm provoking them. What are you going to do about it? And what are they going to do?
Cynthia was at a loss for words because she wasn't qualified to contact the Addams family. She'd talked big about Gerald, but he was only capable of preparing himself to receive a call from Johann at any time. He wasn't qualified to call Johann himself. Stephen walked over to Cynthia with his dagger in hand.
It's your turn, Cynthia. As I said, I came to get rid of a few people today, and that includes you and Gerald.
Stephen raised his dagger. The blade glinted under the fluorescent lighting. At that moment, his phone rang. It was Kim.
Stephen, where are you? I'm outside. I have some things to take care of.
Oh, are you almost done? If you are, can you come to pick me and Jasmine up? We both drank, so we can't drive.
Where's Camilla?
Stephen asked. She went home. I wasn't going to drink, but Jasmine insisted. She drank too much, and now we're stuck here.
All right, I'll be right back.
Stephen put his phone away and turned back to Cynthia and the executives.
My wife just called me. Consider yourselves lucky. But before I leave, make a public apology and admit to your crimes.
Stephen, you may have won today, Cynthia gritted out. But the Addams family won't let this go. You'll die a graveless death. We'll know when the time comes, so make sure you stay alive to witness our ending. Gerald, Cynthia, and the executives made a public apology and admitted to framing Kim. As the core executives of Imperial Holdings, they once again ignited public opinion. In less than 10 minutes, they were all anyone was talking about in the city. The companies that were planning collaborations with Imperial Holdings posted an announcement that they were no longer business partners. The upper-class families in New York City took action and cut off their ties with the company. The Commerce Guild, which had undergone major reconstructing, issued a notice that Gerald, Cynthia, and the other executives were banned from the city. Many fans sympathized with Kim and hung a banner in front of Imperial Holdings. 2 sentences had been printed on the front. It read, "Justice for Kim Cassidy, punish the masterminds." The banner proceeded to list the names of Gerald, Cynthia, and the executives. Imperial Holdings' stock price plummeted. It was the biggest drop in the stock market's history. This incident attracted Johan's attention. He immediately called Gerald. "What are you doing? Not only are you apologizing to the news agencies, but you're also even apologizing to Stephen's wife?" "Mr. Johan, please calm down. We had no choice. Stephen forced us," Gerald explained. "What are you talking about?" Gerald narrated the day's events to Johan in detail. "He's an illegitimate child, but the Addams family's blood flows within him," Johan said. "It makes sense that you and your useless group couldn't take him down. I'll have to do it myself. What happens next is none of your concern. You all were the executives of my father's company, but you apologized to Stephen's wife in public. This is a disgrace. There's no point in keeping any of you alive." The next day, Stephen inadvertently saw a news report that several corpses had been found in a ditch in the suburbs of New York City. The police verified their identities. Imperial Holdings CEO, Gerald, and his assistant, Cynthia, were among them. Stephen didn't need to guess. He knew that the Addams family was behind it. They were a family that filtered out the incompetent people among their ranks. Kim was watching the news with Stephen. "I didn't think Cynthia would end up like that. She was only in her 20s. "What's there to be sad about? You know what they say, good or evil will be rewarded, but not necessarily in the same way. You don't have to feel sorry for her. She schemed and plotted against you more than once." Kim let out a sigh. "That's true." Stephen lost interest in the news and changed the topic. "By the way, have you decided on your maid of honor and bridesmaids?" Ever since Kim's innocence came to light, the entire district had been paying attention to her in Stephen's wedding. Because of their overwhelmingly positive public opinion, the Cassidy and Haynes families were forced to stop interfering. The wedding was fast approaching, and the final preparations were being made. "I've thought about it," Kim said. "Jasmine will be my maid of honor. Most of my other friends are already married and have kids, so they're not suitable to be bridesmaids. But I do have 2 other friends who've been delaying their marriage because they're studying abroad. I've contacted them and asked if they would be my bridesmaids. What about you? Any idea who you want as your groomsman or best man?" When Stephen first married the Cassidy family, they didn't have a wedding, but he had imagined what it would be like. At that time, the candidates for the best man would have been the core members of Felicity Corporation, which included Richard, Noah, and the others. But it had been 6 years since they worked together. Everything had changed. Richard was the core of the company, but he had a miserable ending. Noah had married Mary, who was now deceased. Back then, one of the core members of Felicity Corporation, David, had secretly helped Stephen while he was escaping from the Addams family. Stephen hoped that he would be his best man at the wedding. They hadn't kept in touch, so he went to find Rosalind and asked her to investigate David's situation. "I'm surprised," Rosalind said. "I didn't expect David to be part of an upper-class family in the district. 6 years ago, he joined your company in Santa Ana to gain experience. In the future, he'll be taking over the position of the family head. If you want to call him, here's his number." Stephen nodded and gave David a call. "I didn't think I'd hear from you again, Stephen. It's been 6 years. I thought you...
David trailed off. You thought I wasn't here anymore? Stephen finished lightly. David had helped him in secret multiple times, but the Addams family was powerful. It was understandable that David thought he would be dead.
I'm doing well, and I'm living a good life,
Stephen continued.
I married into the Cassidy family 3 years ago, and for various reasons, we weren't able to have a wedding. But my wife and I will be holding a wedding soon. I wanted to ask you to be my best man.
David was about to agree when he thought of a problem. I don't think I can. The main reason was Johan. Recently, he spread the word that he would deal with anyone who was connected to Stephen in any way. This was a critical time, and David couldn't risk becoming Stephen's best man. If Johan found out, he would wipe out his family.
Why?
Stephen asked, confused.
Oh, is it because of your background? You don't have to hide it anymore. I already know that you're from a wealthy family.
No, that's not it, David hurriedly explained. Actually, I know who you are too. My family's nothing compared to the Addams family. I can't risk provoking them. I'm sorry for not being able to come to your wedding.
Oh, so you were hesitating because of the Addams family. You don't have to worry about them. With me here, there's nothing to be afraid of. I'll deal with anyone who comes after you.
Stephen was fearless when it came to Terrence, Johan, and the Addams family, but David didn't know the reason.
I want to attend your wedding too,
David said.
But I can't. Johan has his eyes on me. If I get on his bad side, he'll harm my family. He's merciless. I think you know that better than anyone. I heard he even wants to deal with you personally. I hope you can make preparations early to avoid a repeat of the incident 6 years ago.
David ended the call, worried that Johan would catch on if they spoke any longer. Stephen was disappointed. He didn't think the Addams family could influence David to this extent. But when he thought about it, David was a regular person. The Addams family was ranked first in the country. It was normal for him to be cautious of them. David had chosen his life and his family over Stephen, and that was okay. After David ended the call, Mr. Addams, Johan made a public announcement, Rosalind reported. He threatened to get rid of anyone who has a connection with you. That was when it clicked for Stephen. David's standoffish reaction to his wedding made sense. After not seeing that asshole Johan for a few years, he's got even more pretentious than before. He's trying to isolate me and drive me into a corner. Rosalind, can you find out his phone number? Got it. I sent you a message. Stephen didn't hesitate and dialed the number. A familiar voice sounded from the other line.
Who is this?
Johan, right? It's Stephen. A short silence followed. It was obvious that Johan didn't expect to get a call from him.
I didn't think you had it in you to call me,
Johan replied after a few minutes. Why not? Stephen shot back. Johan laughed.
What's wrong? Are you scared? Did you call to beg me to spare you? You must be worried that what happened 6 years ago will happen again. That was your worst nightmare after all. I know you're more competent than before. The royal families in New York City are under your command. If you beg, I'll ask my father to let you return to our family.
You want me to beg? The one who should be begging for mercy is you.
Well, if that's not it, then why did you call me? Did you suddenly want to chat after 6 long years?
Yes, I wanted to have a good chat with you. I heard you made an announcement in the district saying that you'll eliminate anyone who's connected to me.
That's right,
Johan confirmed, not bothering to hide it.
I've investigated one of your old colleagues, David. He helped you out 6 years ago. If I get rid of anyone, it'll be him.
What are you planning to do to him? Stephen demanded.
Of course, I want to kill him. I know you didn't hold a wedding 3 years ago, so you're making up for it now. You want David to be your best man, but it's too bad. He's too scared to attend because if he goes, I'll wipe out his family.
Is that so? What a shame. He'll be attending my wedding, and he'll be my best man. If I find out you're making a move against him or his family, I'll kill you immediately. Don't doubt me. Johan was taken aback by Stephen's bold attitude. Then he let out a laugh.
Are you giving me a warning? You're the first person brave enough to do so.
No, I'm informing you. Johann scoffed.
Informing me?
Johann was the successor of the Addams family, and his mother was from the second-ranked family in the country. Her background was noble, and her bloodline was pure. Johann had inherited a noble bloodline from both sides of the family, and he had been trained to become a successor since he was young. Later, Johann was bedridden for more than half a year because of his illness. He hadn't received a bone marrow transplant, but he managed to survive through sheer willpower. He'd recovered enough to move around and leave the house. The Addams family's private doctor praised his recovery as a miracle and said that it was the result of a combination of the number 1 and number 2 aristocratic families in the country. That was the main reason no one had ever provoked Johann.
Stephen, compared to me, your mother has no status. Even if you have my father's blood, it's a fact that you're a bastard child. How can you compete with me? Your mother is from a royal family, but she dreamed of marrying my father. Did she have no shame? I've always thought that my father's decision to abandon you and your mother was correct. Did you really think you managed to become the owner of the Wyvern Group and the leader of royal families in New York City because you were capable? That's where you're wrong. Everything you have is because you possess the Addams family's blood. I can crush your company whenever I want.
Stephen had stayed with the Addams family for a long time, but no one thought highly of him. Johann especially had a lot of pent-up grievances. Stephen's unexpected call had given him the opportunity to vent. "Use all the tricks you have up your sleeve on me," Stephen said. "Since you're from a superior family with a noble bloodline, I want to see just how you're going to make me submit to you."
Just you wait,
Johann swore.
Our status and positions are nowhere near each other. No matter how hard you try, you won't be able to defeat me. I'll make you understand the difference between us.
The line disconnected, and Stephen stared at his phone. "I'm looking forward to finding out just how the Addams family's prodigy plans to get rid of me." Rosalind wasn't convinced. "What prodigy? He's trash compared to you." "She's right," Zachary agreed. "Let me pay a visit to the Addams family and teach him a lesson." "There's no need for that. This is a grudge between me and the Addams family. You don't have to step in. They've always looked down on me and thought I tarnished their noble and pure bloodline. Sooner or later, we'll have a confrontation, and I'll show them that even ordinary people can achieve great things." Either one of the 4 great generals could crush Johann easily. Stephen didn't want that. He wanted to ruin the Addams family personally. After that, he would make Terence kneel and regret his decision to abandon him and his mother. "Oh, right," Stephen said, remembering Johann's warning. "Johann threatened to harm everyone who has a connection with me. He specifically mentioned David. I wouldn't put it past him to make his move within the next few days. If he succeeds, the district will panic. I need to send someone to protect David and his family. Rosalind, can you check who amongst my subordinates are in the district?" Rosalind's fingers flew across her laptop. "You formed many elite squads back then. There were no more than 10 people in each squad, but all of them were the best of the best. Among them, the Sky Division has been stationed in the district." She paused in the middle of reading aloud the information on her screen when a name caught her eye. "Mr. Addams, the leader of the Sky Division, is from the Addams family. He's Johann's cousin." "Really? What a coincidence." Stephen considered it. "If I'm not wrong, the family should think highly of him as they do of Johann. Either way, he's my subordinate. Contact him and ask him to protect David's family." The next day, David was surrounded by the elders of his family. They did not look pleased. "David, do you know what you've done?" the head of the family scolded. David's father was also angry. "How could you befriend the Addams family's illegitimate son?" "How did you raise him?" the head of the family yelled. "An hour ago, Johann informed me that he wants to visit us as a guest. That's what he said, but everyone knows what he's coming here to do." "When I met Stephen, I didn't know he was from the Addams family, let alone an illegitimate child," David protested. "Shouldn't you check their background before befriending people?" his second uncle criticized. "We're an upper-class family. We can't befriend just anyone." The head of the family sighed.
6 years ago, when our country was attacked, many upper-class families actively supported the commander-in-chief. When the war ended, he awarded us a medal. It was one of our proudest achievements. Now we've provoked the Addams family. Even if we have the medal, we're done for. The rest of the family took their turn to ridicule David. He'd become a sinner in less than a day. His family held a high rank in Washington, D.C., but there was a huge gap between them and the Addams family. While everyone was hurling criticisms at David, a motorcade of luxury cars pulled up to the entrance of the house. Johann walked out of the extended Rolls-Royce and walked up to the gates. The Addams family was ranked first in the country, and Johann's mother was from the Phoenix family, which was ranked second. It could be said that the blood of the two strongest families in the United States ran in Johann's veins. Because of his prestigious status, he'd been doted on since he was young. It was a sharp contrast to Stephen, the illegitimate child who no one cared about. Although Johann had suffered from a serious illness to the point where he was bedridden, he'd managed to recover through willpower alone. The rest of the upper-class families were astounded. They attributed his miracle recovery to an ability that came about from the combination of the Addams family and the Phoenix family's bloodlines. Johann himself believed the same thing. That's why he was so sure that Stephen's achievements weren't because of his hard work. It was because half of him was the Addams family's blood. More than 1,000 elite bodyguards stepped out of the luxury cars and surrounded the main gates. Not too far away were more than 10 helicopters circling the vicinity, waiting for Johann's orders. As the successor of the Addams family, his personal safety was of utmost importance. He never left the house without his entourage. It was like he was the leader of a country. To ensure absolute safety, Terence had also prepared a few body doubles mixed in with Johann's bodyguards. They were prepared to die for Johann in emergencies. Johann stood in front of the gates and looked up at the mansion. He didn't care about anyone except for the Addams and Phoenix families. Stephen had threatened to kill him if he attacked David's family, but no one was there to stop him. Today, he would raze this mansion and its residents to the ground. With Johann's order, the bodyguards came forward and forced open the gates. Once inside, they would kill on sight. They were minutes away from splattering the mansion's walls with blood. The head of David's family ran outside with the rest of them following close behind and asked Johann to spare them. "You want me to let you live? I've already announced that I'd be getting rid of anyone who has a connection with Stephen. If you want to blame someone, then blame your grandson, David. He has no eye for people." "Mr. Johann, David didn't know Stephen's identity back then. He's cut off ties with him now. If you let our family go, we're willing to offer you all of our properties." Johann's eyes narrowed. "Are you looking down on me? I have everything one could possibly want in the world. Do you think I lack property? If I wanted your family's properties, did you think you would have survived until today?" If it were someone else, the properties that David's family owned would have been their biggest bargaining chip, but it was worthless to Johann. David mustered up his courage and stepped forward. "I'll take responsibility for what I've done. I'm the only one here who has a connection with Stephen. You can do whatever you want to me, but please let my family go." Johann smiled. "Sure, then get on your knees and denounce Stephen for 1 day and 1 night. Record a video of yourself and post it online. If you can do that, then I'll let your family go." David was conflicted. He had to make a choice between saving his family and cursing Stephen in public. No matter what choice he made, there was no guarantee that Johann would keep his promise. David would cut ties with Stephen, but he couldn't humiliate him like this. "You don't want to?" Johann said when David hesitated. "Looks like you and Stephen are still close. You would rather sacrifice your own family than criticize him." Just as Johann motioned for his bodyguards to attack, someone came running. "Johann, wait! You should rethink whatever you're planning on doing to them. They're under the Sky Division's protection." Johann froze. "What?" He turned around and gave the man a once-over. He looked familiar. From the sound of his voice, he sounded like, "Are you Lennox?" The man nodded. "Yes, I'm the leader of the Sky Division." Lennox Addams was a member of the Addams family, and he was Johann's cousin. Among the younger generation, Lennox was the only one who could be compared to Johann. The fact that he was the leader of the Sky Division and served as the commander-in-chief was enough to make the family proud. The Adams family had a long history, and they were influential, but it was a great honor for their members to become personal guards of the commander. Lennox was accompanied by a small group of masked people dressed in black. They carried a bow on their backs and held a scimitar in their hands. The two words Sky Division were on their uniform. Since childhood, the Adams family had considered Johann a prodigy and a genius. They used their resources to train him as much as they could before he became an adult, to make sure that he stood out amongst his peers and became one of the best. Johann had succeeded, and he was very proud at the time. However, Terence had told him that compared to the commander-in-chief, his achievements were insignificant. It was no different from a child playing house. Johann was especially shocked when Terence told him the commander was only in his 20s. From that day on, the commander-in-chief became Johann's role model and his goal. He hoped that one day he could surpass him. That was when Johann started actively collecting information related to the commander. He recognized the Sky Division with one glance. They were the commander's personal guards. Their division consisted of only 10 people, but they could fight against a regiment of troops. "I understand, Lennox," Johann said gravely. "I'll take my people and leave." Johann was the successor and held a prestigious status, but he couldn't go against the commander's personal guards, not when he was his role model. Johann waved at the bodyguards behind him. "Let's go." They followed him back to the gates and retreated like a wave. But Johann didn't leave right away. He hid behind the house. This was strange. What was so special about David's family that the Sky Division was here to protect them? Johann tried to recall what had happened over the past 2 days. He remembered his phone call with Stephen yesterday. Stephen had warned him not to touch David's family, and he'd sounded strangely confident. And today, just as he was about to confront David's family, the Sky Division had appeared out of nowhere and stopped him. What was the relationship between Stephen and the Sky Division? Johann shook his head to clear his thoughts. That was impossible. Stephen couldn't be the commander-in-chief. Everyone in the country was aware of his long list of achievements. Even the Adams family members didn't have a member like him among their ranks. They surmised that the commander must be from a family with a noble and pure bloodline. He and Stephen weren't related in the slightest. If Stephen was really the commander-in-chief... Johann didn't finish that thought. He waited for Lennox at the corner of the street. Soon, he saw him come out alone. Johann hurried over and greeted Lennox politely. "Johann, remember not to come here again. Leave them alone." "I understand," Johann said. In terms of status, Lennox couldn't compare with Johann, but he was the leader of the Sky Division. That was enough to prove that his personal strength was nothing to scoff at. He might even be slightly stronger than Johann. But because the Adams family valued the concept of bloodline, Lennox wasn't as lucky as Johann. He wasn't a candidate for the successor position because he wasn't a direct or immediate descendant of the head of the family. "Lennox, can I ask you a question? What's so special about this family that you're protecting them?" "About that, I'm not too sure either. It's the duty of a soldier to comply with orders from superiors. We are the commander-in-chief's personal guards, so we carry out confidential missions. We listen to his orders and don't ask questions." Johann had hoped to get a straight answer from Lennox, so he was disappointed when he didn't know either. "However," Lennox continued, "I heard that this family has the commander medallion. If I had to guess, that would be the reason." 6 years ago, the country faced its biggest crisis after a long period of peace. At that critical moment, the commander-in-chief had appeared out of nowhere and forced the enemy back with his own strength. His achievements have been said to have restructured the entire country. While the commander was on the front lines, there was a surge of enthusiasm among the people. There were many who provided logistical support to the soldiers, and many upper-class families made significant contributions. After the war, the commander-in-chief proposed an award to honor those who had made outstanding contributions. The award was a medal that would later be known as a commander medallion. For example, the Adams family contributed the most, so they were awarded more than 50 medals. This was an achievement they'd always been proud of. Johann was enlightened. I see. I never would have thought that this family also had a medal. The Commander Medallion was equivalent to a protective talisman. Whoever was in possession of the medal would be protected by the Commander-in-Chief's personal guards if they ever encountered a major crisis they couldn't resolve. David's family had gotten lucky. They had a connection to the Commander-in-Chief, so Johann could only leave empty-handed with his bodyguards. Lennox entered the house and went over to David. Mr. David, in the name of the leader of the Sky Division, I promise that Johann will not bother your family in the future. You're free to go anywhere you want without worry. David had the same question as Johann. Why was the Sky Division here? He thought that this would be the end of his family, but Lennox had chased Johann and his bodyguards away with one sentence. He didn't know how to feel after finding out that his family was protected by the Commander-in-Chief's personal guards, but what he did know was that they didn't have to worry about Johann anymore. That meant that he was free to attend Stephen's wedding. It must be the Commander Medallion we received 6 years ago, David's second uncle reasoned. Not that many people have one. Whatever the case may be, David was thrilled when Stephen invited him to his wedding, but because of Johann, he had no choice but to turn him down. Now, his family had the support of the commander's personal guards, the Sky Division. Johann wouldn't be able to threaten them anymore. David immediately gave Stephen a call and informed him that he would be attending the wedding. Okay, I'll wait for you, Stephen said. That same day, Johann received news that David would be showing up at the wedding. He'd announced that he would eliminate anyone who had a connection to Stephen, but he'd failed in getting rid of his first target. No one would dare to scorn him, but he couldn't shake off the feeling that he'd failed. David's family had gotten lucky, and there were other people who were connected to Stephen. They couldn't possibly all have commander medallions, and the commander-in-chief was a busy man. He wouldn't have time to protect everyone. The wedding was fast approaching, and most of the preparations were complete. Stephen had personally written invitations and delivered them to the guests. He treated the wedding seriously, as if this was their first marriage. When he and Kim married back then, they didn't have a wedding, so this was their first wedding even though they were remarrying. If the guests knew that the commander-in-chief had personally delivered their invitation, they'd probably feel honored. On his way back, Stephen received a call from Kim. Hello, Stephen? Where are you? Remember the 2 friends I told you about? They're going to be my bridesmaids. They're at the airport. Let's go and pick them up. Okay, I'll be right there. Stephen drove Kim to Washington, D.C.'s airport to welcome her 2 friends, Bridget and Marisol. They had been abroad for a long time, and they acted like they were superior to everyone else. They looked at Stephen like he wasn't worth talking to. Their attitude only improved when they spoke to Kim. Kim, I really didn't think you would choose this kind of man as your husband, Bridget said. If I knew about this, I wouldn't have come back. She's right, Marisol said. We're staying because we're good friends. Kim, I'm not talking about you, Bridget continued. You graduated from a famous university. Why did you find someone like him to be your husband? There are so many options abroad. Marisol took over. Kim, if you stayed with us and pursued your career abroad, your standards in men would have improved. It's not that I want to belittle your husband, but any man from abroad would be 1,000 times better than him. Bridget agreed with her point of view. You've been influenced by the environment here. If I knew this would happen, I would have tried to convince you to stay with us no matter what. They chattered nonstop. There was no opportunity for Kim to interrupt. The last straw was when they criticized Stephen right in front of her. She opened her mouth to tell them off, but Stephen was faster. Both of you be quiet, Stephen snapped. You claim that the people abroad are better and that the environment is an upgrade, but aren't you 2 citizens of our country? He'd met many people like Bridget and Marisol who admired the people abroad. Anything found outside the country was more special, and even the moon overseas was rounder. These people usually stayed abroad for a long time, and they no longer considered themselves citizens of the U.S. They saw themselves as superior. Bridget and Marisol were clear examples. Did you really think we would want to stay here? Marisol asked. Bridget nodded. We've already processed the immigration applications. They'll be approved soon. With the right to permanent residence, who'd want to return to a lousy place like this? They proceeded to complain about the quality of the air and said that even the toilets abroad were more fragrant than the luxury restaurants here. They made it very clear that if it weren't for the fact that Kim's net worth had exceeded 100 billion, they never would have come here to become her bridesmaids. To put it bluntly, Bridget and Marisol were snobbish. Kim knew that Stephen wasn't pleased with them, and she felt awkward that her two friends were embarrassing her like this. She never would have thought that they would change so much. Bridget and Marisol didn't notice the changes in their expressions. They continued to criticize the U.S. "Oh, I just remembered," Bridget said. "Kim, you should take care of the immigration paperwork soon. With your current value, it'll be easy for you to pass the formalities." Marisol agreed. "You'll be even more popular when you move abroad. It doesn't matter who you choose. He'll be 100 times better than your ex-husband." Kim stole a glance at Stephen. He hadn't said anything for quite some time, but his expression was turning darker by the minute. She hurriedly tried to stop them. "That kind of relationship doesn't work for me. I'm satisfied with my current life. I did study abroad for a time, but I grew up here. I don't want to move anywhere else, so you don't need to try to persuade me." Marisol sighed dramatically. "What a shame. If you come with us, you'll be able to quickly join the upper-class circles." "Staying here will be a waste of your talent," Bridget added. Stephen had enough. "Just give up. Our country's not as bad as you make it out to be. Kim already said that. She won't be moving abroad." Marisol spread her hands. "Did you hear that, Kim? Your ex-husband doesn't come close to being a gentleman. He has no manners, and he's rude to the ladies." "He looks like a country bumpkin. Why would you marry someone like him?" Bridget asked. Kim frowned. "That's enough," she said sternly. Bridget realized that Kim was angry for real, so she gave Marisol a look. Kim was worth 100 billion. They had to try and stay on her good side. Marisol got the hint and changed the topic. "Okay, let's stop talking about this. It's a waste of time. Have you decided on the best man and groomsman yet?" "Yeah, Stephen picked them," Kim said. Bridget was stunned. "What? You let your ex-husband pick the best man and groomsman?" "Why would you do that?" Marisol asked incredulously. "Didn't you see his attitude towards us just now? With that kind of personality, the people he chooses will be just like him, maybe even worse. Kim, listen to me. You'll be holding a grand wedding. You must have spent a lot of money on it. All the guests will be from upper-class families. If you let people like your ex-husband mingle with them, your image will be affected." Stephen interjected. "Are you here to be bridesmaids or brides? I'm Kim's husband, and I'll choose the best man and groomsman. If you don't approve, then board the next plane back to where you came from." It wouldn't be difficult to find two bridesmaids to replace Bridget and Marisol, but they were Kim's friends, and if she wanted them at the wedding, then he would respect her decision. "What was that?" Bridget demanded. "Are you trying to chase us away?" Kim got in between them. "That's not what Stephen meant. He thought hard about who to choose as the best man and groomsman. You need to understand that. This is my wedding. You shouldn't argue with my husband." "Fine. It's not impossible to go along with the people he chose, but we have a request," Bridget said. "Introduce them to us. If we're satisfied, we'll drop it. If we're not, they'll have to be replaced." Marisol agreed. Kim wasn't planning on having anyone replaced, but she supposed it wouldn't hurt to introduce her nitpicky friends to the groomsmen and the other bridesmaids. They would meet sooner or later anyway. She asked Stephen if he would call them over. "Sure, I'll ask." Stephen made a few calls. They were busy, so it would take some time to arrive. David was the best man, and Jasmine was the maid of honor. Dennis, Zachary, and Jaden were the groomsmen, while Roslyn was one of the bridesmaids. David was busy, so he wouldn't be able to make it today, but everyone else would be coming later. "We can't just wait here," Bridget complained. "Kim, take us to our hotel." "Okay, it's a 5-star hotel at the center of the district. It's one of the best." For the first time since Bridget and Marisol set foot in Washington, D.C., they were satisfied. The four of them waited in the lobby on the first floor after checking in. "It's been a while. Why aren't they here yet?" Bridget muttered. Marisol placed a hand on her stomach. "I'm getting hungry." "Why don't we go eat while we wait?" Kim suggested. "I made a reservation at the best restaurant in the district." The restaurant was 10 minutes away from the hotel. Bridget and Marisol found more things to complain about and demanded to eat somewhere else. Kim felt a headache coming on, but she led them back the way they came and took them to another restaurant in the opposite direction. Fortunately, Bridget and Marisol had nothing to complain about this time. While the two of them stuffed their faces, the people they were waiting for finally arrived. Kim already knew who Dennis was, and she'd met Zachary in Santa Ana. This was her first time meeting Jaden and Rosalind. She couldn't put her finger on it, but they reminded her of Dennis and Zachary. The four of them were well-mannered and polite, and addressed her with honorifics. "Stephen, can you introduce them to Bridget and Marisol?" Kim asked. "Okay, this is Dennis, Zachary, and Jaden. The three of them are the groomsmen." Stephen extended a hand to Rosalind. "And this is Rosalind, one of the bridesmaids." Bridget and Marisol didn't think too much when they saw the groomsmen, but their jaws dropped when Stephen introduced Rosalind. "Wait, what did you just say? She's a bridesmaid? Are you messing with us? Isn't she the best man?"